The Supreme Court has spoken out on the illegal tree felling at the Corbett Tiger Reserve. The Supreme Court has slammed the ex-Uttarakhand minister and officials responsible. The court has said that public trust has been thrown in the waste bin, strong words there, by the Supreme Court as it has delivered this judgment on the illicit felling of trees on a mass scale. The Supreme Court has called it illicit. Ashish Bhargav joins us with the very latest. Ashish, what more can you tell us? Ashish, can you hear me?
Yes. Please ask question again.
Ashish, what more can you tell us about what the Supreme Court has said on the Corbett Tiger Reserve tree felling case?
See, this issue was Corbett Tiger Reserve with all tiger reserves in the country, and Supreme Court comes down heavily on former Uttarakhand Forest Minister Harak Singh Rawat as well as DFO Kishan Chand. And Supreme Court said that we are amazed by audacity of the minister and DFO. Supreme Court directed CBI to give status report with this agency is already probing the whole issue in corruption and illegal felling of trees in Corbett Tiger Reserve. But Supreme Court now directed CBI to probe these people and submit a report within 3 months from today. Also, Supreme Court issues appropriate directions for the committee. One 3-member committee has been formed by the Supreme Court, and Supreme Court directed them to submit report for tiger sanctuaries, the whole country, how they will operate, how they can be managed, and then Supreme Court will again hear the issue and then will pass a final direction. Justice B.R. Gawai pronounced this judgment, and this judgment has a ramification of all tiger sanctuaries in the country, and it's a big judgment when Supreme Court is taking care of all tiger sanctuaries. Supreme Court also said the figures show that substantial reduction in tiger poaching, but the ground reality cannot be denied. Illegal felling of trees, like what happened in Corbett, cannot be ignored. And the Supreme Court formed a committee of Chandra Prakash Goyal, Sumit Sinha and one other, and Supreme Court asked them to give suggestions for more efficient management of tiger reserve. Experts in field must look into this. Supreme Court also said will issue appropriate direction after committee submits a report from 3 months from today. And Supreme Court also said when CBI probing was done within 3 months, they will be submitting a report, and Supreme Court will take action against on the basis of this CBI report. It's a big direction from Supreme Court, and Supreme Court slams Uttarakhand former minister, Forest Minister Harak Singh Rawat and officers, and this is a big judgment we can say. Now Supreme Court will hear again after 3 months. Yes.
Right. This is, of course, Ashish, stay on with us in connection with the felling of 6,000 trees. Justice B.R. Gawai has also, in fact, said in the Supreme Court right now that it is clear that the former forest minister Harak Singh Rawat, who you're talking about, considered, and the district forest officer, considered themselves to be a law unto themselves. The Supreme Court has further, in a rather strong use of language, talked about the blatant disregard of law and commercial purposes. They indulged in illicit felling of trees on a mass scale to construct buildings under the pretext of promotion of tourism. So while, of course, Ashish, the court has used this very strong language against the ex-Uttarakhand minister as well as officials, it remains to be seen what action will be taken.
Yes, of course, Supreme Court categorically, Justice B.R. Gawai, who pronounced the judgment, said in his judgment, in the present case, it is clear beyond doubt that the then forest minister has considered themselves as a beyond law, and it shows how DFO has thrown the public trust doctrine to the wind. And this shows how politicians and bureaucrats take law into their own hands, and then Forest Minister justifies the proposed posting of DFO and the Forest Minister demitted office. This means Supreme Court also said it shows the nexus of bureaucrats and politicians, which resulted in heavy environmental damages. And Supreme Court also said that we are amazed at the audacity of the forest minister to have committed this. So this is a strong indication and strong message to the governments of various states and also the officers and bureaucrats that Supreme Court will not tolerate any kind of violation of environmental issues in the name of in the process of promoting tourism. So Supreme Court have taken this extreme step, and also Supreme Court said that we are sure many others are involved in this. Since CBI is probing this, we are not saying anything more. So then, so Supreme Court directs CBI to submit this report. It means the CBI will have to be very careful in conducting probes on this issue, because directly now Supreme Court, the highest court of the country, is monitoring all the issue, and they have to submit status report of this investigation within 3 months.
Ashish, thanks for joining us with that update. I also want to go across to NDTV Sunil Prabhu, tracking the details of the story very closely. Sunil, break it down for us. What is the court said, and what is the larger context of this case? Because it's a huge case. 6,000 trees were cut because of the construction work that went on in Jim Corbett.
Well, first of all, they permitted jungle safari. So there is one aspect to that, and the other, of course, is the DFO as well as the forest minister. So on that count, they have very categorically said that they would like a full CBI investigation, that it's just not two people involved. They've wrapped the then Uttarakhand forest minister as well as the DFO who were responsible. But clearly, since the CBI is investigating, they don't want to say more. But definitely just not two people involved. Even after, there have been demands for suspension, Justice Gavai has given his full breakup in the entire judgment about how it has gone about the entire process. So definitely a big rap for those officials who are allowed, even after the NCTA, which is the nodal agency for tiger preservation. And it's in that context that the Supreme Court has said that public trust has been thrown in the waste bin. So definitely huge concerns being raised, especially on the then forest minister as well as the DFO. And we'll have to wait to see the CBI investigation, because they are at present investigating the matter, and they say it's just not two people who are involved. There must be a larger conspiracy in this entire case.
But while the Supreme Court has, made rather scathing observations against the then forest officer, the then forest minister Harak Singh Rawat, as well as forest officials, like you said, Sunil, tiger safari has been permitted in peripheral and buffer zones of the reserved forest. This wasn't allowed earlier, but now the Supreme Court's allowed for this to happen.
Absolutely. It comes in the backdrop. I don't know whether you noticed a few days ago, the Chief Justice's bench had given a different ruling on this with 3 judges on forest rights. This was the tribal case, and so there is a little bit of a contradiction here. But we'll have to seek a legal opinion about which gets a better predominance in this. So definitely, this is a little bit of a gray area. I'm not because at the face of it, it's something that many forest right individuals will be extremely upset about, but definitely not something that can be taken, at face value. So there will definitely be issues in this regard on that important aspect.